everyone here today. I am Representative Jenny Horn I represent House District 94 for Charleston and Dorchester counties. It's my privilege today to be here with my friends Alan Wilson and Tim Scott to show support for their respective campaigns as they battle Obamacare and the mandates that are being forced upon the state. Just like to recognize a few people before we get involved in the remarks from our candidates. We have Cindy Costa here today. She's our National Committee woman for the State Republican Party. We have Joe McEwen. He is a Charleston County Council member. Jay Byers is a Republican candidate for Dorchester County Council, and we expect him to be elected in 2 weeks. We have Lynn Bennett with the Charleston County Republican Party, and Jim Davis with the Berkeley County, he's a Berkeley County Executive Committeeman and board member for the Tea Party. And also, my Dorchester County Chair, Carol Duncan. Thank you, Carol, for coming in and not allowing me to forget you. First of all, I'd like to outline the cost of Obamacare will be over $1 billion to South Carolina over the next 10 years. Obamacare must be stopped, and that is why we need an Attorney General who will fight the unconstitutional law in the courtroom, and a congressional delegation who will fight for its repeal in the halls of Congress. I know Alan Wilson is the only candidate for Attorney General who will fight Obamacare and Barack Obama's radical agenda. Alan, take it over.
Thank you, Representative. First off, I want to thank all of you who showed up. Thank you for coming here this morning. You could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here, and you chose to be here for a very important reason, because you care about the state and you care about your community. And that's why soon-to-be Congressman Scott and I are here as well, because we care about you and we care about what happens to our state. In 2 weeks from actually today, tonight at 7 o'clock, the polls will close and the die will be cast on our future, the future of our state. And there's several directions we could take our state in the future. There's one direction that says we're going to go with more government, we're going to go with more regulations, we're going to go with less individual liberty, and we're going to go with the erosion of state sovereignty. I'm here to tell you today, not as a Republican or as someone running for office, but as a concerned citizen, that that's not the direction that I see this state or this country going. I think we need to stand up and we need to fight for those rights and those values that we all hold dear. And I'm talking to people out there who are Republican or Democrat, regardless of your party. This is not a partisan issue. What is going on right now in Washington, D.C. is an unprecedented expansion of the role of federal government in our lives. I'm here today to stand next to your next congressman, and I'm going to say something about him, nice about him in a minute, but I'm here to talk to you about, as Attorney General, you have several options. Option one is you've got a candidate who has said openly that he will not do anything to combat, in his words, not waste taxpayer dollars, and we'll talk about that in a second, and he will not spend $1 to combat this overexpansive health care that's coming down, and it's going to hurt our businesses and hurt us individually and also hurt our state. And I believe that we have to have an Attorney General who is not only a proven leader but a proven fighter. As a former prosecutor and as a former combat veteran, I know what it's like to fight in the courtroom and on the battlefield. And that's the same type of courage, the same type of commitment I plan to bring to you, the citizens of South Carolina. The role of the Attorney General is many roles. You know, the state's chief prosecutor, state's chief legal officer, but most importantly, right now in this day and time, it's the state's chief defender of our Constitution. Several months ago, Congress voted on this health care bill, and hopefully people like Tim Scott will have a strong delegation going back to fight to repeal it. And I always use the analogy, I think it was Benjamin Franklin said that democracy are two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for dinner, and liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the outcome. Well, when I say armed, I don't mean with guns or violence. I mean with knowledge, information, and the power of the people behind you. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to arm Congress with people like Tim Miller that will go up there. Tim Scott. Tim Miller's back in Lexington. Sorry, Tim. No problem. I'm merging my campaigns. Tim Scott. We're going to arm Congress with people like Tim Scott to go up there and basically say, we're not going to let you do this. We're not going to let you take advantage of the people of this state and the people of this congressional district. A couple of weeks ago, Stephen Van Camp, who is the director of the South Carolina Employees Insurance Program, put out an affidavit saying beginning on January the 1st, the mandates included in this congressional legislation, this Obamacare bill, are going to require us to pay $19.34 million, almost $20 million immediately to fund those mandates. If we don't increase co-insurance and co-pays, that could go up to $60 to $70 million. Failure to meet these mandates could cost us in fines up to $240 million. That is just to meet the obligations mandated for the health insurance plan for state employees. That's not even talking about the billion-dollar mandate that's going to be heaved upon us with Medicaid over the next 10 years. So, you know, when people say, well, are you going to take the lead and continue to do what Attorney General McMaster has done in fighting this unconstitutional health care bill? My short answer to them is, yeah, absolutely. My opponent has said that he's not going to waste taxpayer dollars, and people say this is a partisan, you know, this is a way to get partisan. This isn't about partisan politics, and it's not about wasting taxpayer dollars. Let me tell you, right now, to date, do you know how much it has cost the state of South Carolina under the leadership of Henry McMaster to contest this health care bill? A health care bill that's going to cost us north of $1 billion in the long run. It's cost us $4,800. That seems like a very minor premium to pay on something that's going to cost us so much in the future. So as Attorney General, I'm making a commitment to you that I will work very hard every day to protect not only you in your neighborhoods, your streets, your communities, and your schools as a former prosecutor, but I will protect your individual liberty and our state's sovereignty as the state's chief defender of our Constitution. We need an Attorney General who is willing to take the lead and willing to say, hey, I care enough about the people of this state, I care enough about this country, that I'm not going to stand on the sidelines and let it be taken advantage of the way that it currently is. As I grew up, my dad used to make me watch B horror movies. Tim, you've probably seen this movie, and I always use this analogy. There was an old Steve McQueen movie called The Blob. People here have probably seen that movie. In the beginning of the movie, the blob comes from outer space and lands in the woods. And as the movie progresses, it starts to roll and it starts to eat people. By the end of the movie, it's swallowing diners. It goes from the size of a cantaloupe to the size of a diner. And that's kind of how I see the federal government. It just consumes and consumes and consumes like the blob does until pretty soon it's unsustainable and unmanageable and can't be controlled. And that's why we need people like Tim Scott who are going to go to Congress and fight that growth of government. And that's what we need, people like him at the federal level and people like me at the state level that are going to say we're going to stop the blob from consuming our individual liberties and our state sovereignty. And it's got to start with people like you. We got to get out, we got to go to the polls, we got to vote, we got to let our voices be heard. This health care bill is bad medicine. It is bad medicine for the people of South Carolina. It is bad medicine for the state as a whole. And that's why I'm telling you, we need Tim Scott in Congress. Tim, I can't tell you how I've gotten to know you over the past year and serving with you and campaigning around the state, and I believe the people of this district will be well represented by you when you go to Congress, and I know that you're going to fight hard for them. You also got all this girl power around you. I mean, I don't see how they're not going to let you fail. But it has been an honor to campaign with you. It's an honor to stand beside you today, and I want you to know, I make a commitment to you, you will have an advocate and an ally here in South Carolina. All you got to do is pick up the phone, call me, and tell me what I can do to support your efforts in Congress. But we've got to get you elected. And at this time, I would like to hand it off to our next Congressman, Tim Scott.
Elections really are not about politicians. Elections are about people. People like you. People like me. We're struggling every single day to make this American dream possible for the next generation. When we think about Obamacare, it's a jobs killer, but it's also a dream killer. When we think about the fact that $1.2 trillion price tag, which is now escalating towards $2 trillion, it's too much. Not only is it too much for us, it's too much for the unborn American who will have to pay the price for something called compassion. There is nothing compassionate about borrowing money from an unborn person to make your life more comfortable. There is nothing compassionate about talking to our senior citizens, the greatest generation of all of America, and saying to them, we now want you to take your Social Security and pay for the health care for a 19-year-old. There's nothing compassionate about it. There's nothing right about violating the Constitution, the Commerce Clause. What a joke. What a joke for them to use that as the reason why they have an opportunity to talk about compulsory care, health insurance for all Americans. The fact is, Article 1, Section 8, under the enumerated powers, you do not see, cannot find, and will not excavate anything like health insurance. It is reserved to the 9th and 10th Amendments of our Constitution. We know that. We also know that when we talk about it being a jobs killer, what we're talking about is $52 billion of new taxes on small business owners like myself. We can't pay higher taxes and hire more people. We need an attorney general who has, in a word, tenacity. We need a person like Alan Wilson who has a tenacity to grab hold of the issue, to dig deep into the issue, and to speak on behalf of South Carolinians who spoke in our Republican primary at almost 90%, who simply said, not now, not here, not ever for Obamacare. And so with Alan Wilson as our Attorney General, we find ourselves in a great position. We have a man who is tenacious, who stands on solid ground, Jim, who understands the Constitution of our state and of our nation, and will protect the rights of you. Because what it's really about is your individual empowerment to make decisions for yourselves on what you know to be in your best interest. We don't need our president telling us when to have mammograms. We don't need our Congress telling us when we can and cannot go to work. We need an Attorney General who stands in the route and heads down the direction with a shoulder to the grindstone, making a difference for all of us. I'm proud to stand here with our next Attorney General, Alan Wilson, and with state representatives who will make sure that what we do in South Carolina becomes the benchmark and the springboard for all of America. Southern values work. I want to thank our county chairwomen, not men, chairwomen, for joining us today, because we know that what has happened in America is a fantastic thing. We have a groundswell. The sleeping giant is awake, and these women represent all of us in a way that is necessary in this time of great need. Thank you.
There's some people here who have come to see us, and we've got some folks from the media at this time. Are there any questions for us collectively, or we'll come talk to you individually? Hearing none, this press conference is hereby closed.